Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and these are my thoughts on The Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 7.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
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 Don't make me destroy you.
So, Episode 7 finally brings us to the Siege of Eregion, and I will be quite honest with you, this episode is probably the better episode of the season, if not the entire series so far. It's not great, but it is better. And I think that is purely down to the simple fact that we cut a lot of the nonsense characters, a lot of the nonsense storylines that simply aren't working in the show, and focus on a very singular event. Okay, we do go off to Khazad-dûm, but overridingly, the entire episode is focused around the Siege of Eregion itself and Celebrimbor unmasking Annatar as Sauron and revealing, the illusion that's been plaguing him the entire time and seeing through that illusion. Overall, I think the interactions between Celebrimbor and Annatar are some of the best in the entire series. They have been throughout, really coming to a head in the last couple of episodes. And this episode, once again, does show to me that Charlie Vickers is growing on me as a character, as an actor portraying Annatar and Sauron in this series. I think some of the dialogue, it's been lifted from other pieces, from other elements, but he has that unnerving quality that is growing on me, and I think is getting better as the show deals with darker elements. There's some derivative copies in terms of when Celebrimbor is uncovering the illusion, and when he notices a mouse, for example, doing the same motions over and over again. It's very reminiscent of the Matrix when Neo sees the cat do the same motion again and again. Deja vu, so there's a quirky little copy moment there, but it works, and it actually comes across as quite interesting to see that Celebrimbor is trying to uncover what's going on. He notices the hammer is missing a ruby, he notices the candle is not going down, he notices his own dishevelled face in the mirror. So whilst Annatar is trying to siege, trying to sow chaos and disorder throughout Eregion while the siege is underway, he loses a bit of grip on Celebrimbor while he's building the Nine. So, and when it does come to a head, when Celebrimbor calls Annatar out, there is still that control that Annatar has over Celebrimbor, and it's interesting, and it's played out really well. I have to be honest with you, it's played out really well. I do think the battle overall is a bit messy in places. I don't think it's particularly staged very well. I don't think the choreography's fine. I don't think we really get a true sense of the depth and the carnage of the battle. It seems quite small in places, weirdly enough, rather than an epic, huge siege. We see a lot of soldiers on the periphery, on the horizon. We see the siege engines bringing down a mountain, which is an interesting tactic. But overall, once it gets really enclosed and really close, it doesn't feel as though there's an awful lot going on. It's a bit weird for me in that way. Some of the shots we see only 20, 30 or 30 elves, and it does just feel small, and it in no way has the same epic feel as the Battle of the Bastards or other battles similar in Game of Thrones. So I don't know on it. I think it's perfectly fine. I think it suits what story they're trying to tell. It's just some of it just feels a bit weightless in a way, strange and bizarre. The only part of the battle I really truly enjoyed, I think, was when the giant troll appears and fucks everyone up, orc and elf alike. But unfortunately, he doesn't last very long. He doesn't last very long at all. And it's a bit of a shame, really. Where are the other trolls? Are there anything else? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But again, when we do cut to Khazad-dûm, there is still this intriguing element of the king going absolutely fucking insane. And I think this episode encapsulates one of the best stories in this show, and it gives them time, it gives them room to breathe, and that's what this series has fucking needed. It's needed to come away from this pointless Harfoot storyline, this is he, isn't he, not Gandalf story, which is it's treading water. The waffling Numenorian storyline, which is just empty and vapid and completely disappointing. When they get into the depths of the stories they want to tell with Anatar and with Celebrimbor, that is where it seems to be at its best. There are still issues with the writing, there's still issues with the dialogue, but the characters are there in theory. I can see them, I can almost taste them. It just needs more, and this episode was starting to show that there could be more, and I hope it continues. I hope they streamline and narrow down certain plot lines. Arondir comes into this episode and joins up with them. He doesn't do very much before he himself gets stabbed, but obviously, clearly he's not dead. But some of these characters just need to be either blended in to other storylines or cut completely, and I don't know how they would do that, because obviously there's so many vast and significant moments that they are trying to do in this show. The only sort of bone of contention, which stirred up a bit of controversy in my latest post on Threads, was that I don't feel at all that I should have any sympathy or empathy for the orcs. They try again in this episode to posit the orcs as being, not wanting to be a part of this battle, and yet in the same breath we have an orc killing a horse and licking the blade and reveling in that carnage. There is that side character, the elven smith lady, who Anatar flips and makes Celebrimbor push her off the wall, and then an orc just straight in and kills her. And it's difficult. I get the argument as well, the counterpoint argument that the elves are engaging in atrocities in this fight, but they're a defending force. And I think if you're wanting to really push this narrative that the orcs don't want war and that they're forced into this, then we need to see more. We needed to see more of the orcs as their own society. We needed to see them as posited as this corrupted and ruined race that didn't want to be forced into conflict but felt like they had no other choice. I don't think, from my perspective, we have had that at all. I get that Adar is postulating this idea that they must go to war to stop Sauron, but his journey is based on revenge. I mean, we get towards the end of the episode where the orc who has the family says, I thought you loved us. I thought you said you loved us. And Adar is, dismissive of that. So it's quite clear that, these orcs are going to be just used and abused, but I still don't have any sense that we should feel sorry for them. And maybe we'll get something in the final episode of this season. I don't know, but for me, it just doesn't work. Similarly, what doesn't work is the moment where Galadriel is kissed by Elrond. I get it in theory. I get it in what they're trying to do. Obviously, clearly, I know he passes her a tool so that she can escape. But in previous Lord of the Rings iterations, we've seen scenes where characters share affection or acknowledge the qualities by giving them a kiss on the forehead. Galadriel did it to several other characters of the Fellowship when they're going on their journeys. Aragorn does it to Boromir when he passes away. It's a sign of endearment, but not forced or not, I don't know, bizarre. Here, Elrond kisses her completely on the mouth, and aside from the fact that she later on becomes his mother-in-law, it just feels as though it's a little bit too much. It doesn't feel right. These two characters have been at loggerheads for a considerable amount of time, even though they know each other and they know their qualities. It just doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right in the moment. It felt like there was this great swell of music. We're supposed to feel something here, I think. Obviously not romance, because if that was the intention, it doesn't come across whatsoever at all. But the execution doesn't work. You could have achieved the same objective if he'd reached in, said, "I'm sorry," which he does, and then give her a kiss on the forehead and pass her that object. Why does he kiss her on the mouth? I don't know. It doesn't work for me. There is that other element to say, when you kiss her on the forehead, I understand you, I respect you, I wish you good fortune, all of this kind of stuff. All those other messages could be come across with a simple kiss to the forehead. Similar to the way that characters kiss each other, on the cheek or something to say goodbye. Why does it need to be a kiss on the mouth with a resounding, triumphant score moment? I don't know. It doesn't work. And that's simply looking at it as from that perspective, not with, the fact that Elrond becomes, son-in-law, and that she eventually becomes bloody Arwen's fucking grandmother. I don't know. It's one of those. It's a bizarre moment, and even when you factor in the fact that Galadriel's husband hasn't appeared entirely in this show, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right at all. But like I said, I think the episode overall is that touch better again, because like I said, it's focused. It's intent on doing the battle. It's intent on showing the carnage. Why people are still running around the city, rather than getting to whatever shelters there may be. I don't know, these elves are thousands of years old. Yes, they're smiths and artisans, but surely they must have a bit of common sense and a bit of knowledge about past wars. But, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's trying to show carnage and chaos of war with missing that little bit touch of depth. But overall, I think it's a much better episode, like I said, when it focuses in on those specific moments, the moments between Celebrimbor and Anatar. Better, much better. This is what the show is needed. It's needed deep moments of interaction between its characters, not fly off the moments where they're utilising lines of dialogue from the movies or from books that are repurposed. Give these characters some credence that they deserve, that they are capable of showing in the show. And when it does that, it starts to feel better. It starts to feel like it has its own quality. So, who knows what's going to happen with the final episode of this season? I'm guessing we're going to be going into the Balrog being released. They alluded to it yet again in this episode in Khazad-dûm. I think what someone says, we'll be careful, we might awaken it underneath us. Like, you're aware the Balrog's there? What? Okay. And then quite clearly we're going to get the whole Gandalf, not Gandalf reveal, which has just been, like I said, treading water the entire time. Just absolute dribble. Just get on with it, and then put him somewhere where he can be a part of wider character conversations or something. I don't know how they're going to make that work, but that whole side story just is nonsense to me. It's pointless, it's boring, it's rubbish. And the same with the Númenóreans. I've said it time and time and again. These are interesting characters. It's an interesting civilization, and we've done nothing with them except pointless squabbles and out of place nonsense fucking political storytelling. It just doesn't come across well at all. It doesn't land, and that's quite evident in this episode, where the points where they've really focused on are interesting, can be interesting if they just give it a bit more. But there you go. Those are my thoughts on episode 7 of The Rings of Power. I don't think it's great. I think it's getting better, but it still has a lot of flaws in there. A lot of flaws in there are the overall writing, the pacing of certain elements, the quashing of the timeline. I don't know how or what they're going to do going forward, really, in terms of the big events, but that's a question for another day. With this episode, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's massively good. Like I speculated in my previous review, it's quite clear that a big battle would overshadow certain elements that weren't working, and that is the case. That is fundamentally the case for this. Everyone loves a good battle scene, don't they? And there are some moments where you laugh and you gasp, and you joke about characters dying, or in an episode like this, and such is the case. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts overall on this episode? What are your thoughts overall on the series? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? Be constructive in your answers. Be constructive in your replies. I'm interested to know what you think. Like I said, this is only my opinion. So by all means, sound off in the comment section down below. And I will see you on the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please do like it. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this. If you didn't like it, fair play. Thank you very much for watching anyway. See you next time. Bye-bye.